Before you make that phone call or send an email to a member of the media, ask yourself, why does my message matter to the public? That's the first question an assignment editor is going to ask. If you can't tell him or her why your story is newsworthy, you've lost the first battle. Let's say you get past that barrier. The editor might have seen a glimmer of possibility in what you've said, or might just have a reporter with nothing to do that day. The reporter who gets the assignment is going to ask, why should readers care about this? If you can't provide a reason, he or she will invent one you might not like. It's not that the reporter is deliberately twisting the facts. He or she has to find a way to make the story interesting. Otherwise, it's going to be spiked, buried so far back in the paper that no one will read it, or reduced to one of those one-paragraph briefs you sometimes see on an inside page. Suppose you think you deserve a bit of exposure for all the good work you do. If you can't provide a reason that you should be singled out from the thousands of other nonprofit organizations laboring without recognition, you need to think harder before approaching a media outlet. As a general rule, anniversaries, changes to your organizational structure, and problems with various levels of government over funding don't pass the why should readers care test. Rule number 2. Please be aware that journalists are not publicity agents. If you have a story with a strong public interest element, by all means offer it to a reporter, a columnist, an editor, or a producer. But if your objective is to sell tickets to a gala or lottery, promote your brand, raise your organization's profile, or deliver an unfiltered message to the public, that's advertising. There are cases that straddle the line. A nonprofit organization striving to raise money to help a family torn apart by a devastating accident, for example, might be newsworthy. But in most instances, if you want publicity, go to a newspaper or broadcasting outlet's advertising or promotions department. Number 3, do your homework before you contact the media. Read or listen to the publication or broadcast outlet you plan to approach. Find out about the organization. Identify, if you can, anyone who covers nonprofit organizations often enough to suggest a pattern. That means more than 1 or 2 isolated stories. And figure out how to get in touch with that person. Most media outlets, mine certainly, provide email addresses for their staff. If you can't find it online, call the organization's newsroom and ask. If you don't know anyone at all at a media organization and can't see any journalist who shows a consistent interest in your sector, ask around. Other nonprofit organizations might have tips or advice. Your friends might know someone in the media. The parents of your kids' friends might. Use word of mouth as much as you can. In the event that you have to take the conventional route, look for a phone number or email listing for an organization's assignment editor. Some organizations have one, some don't. If the organization you're calling doesn't, explain to whoever answers the phone that you want to speak to someone about a story. What happens next will depend on the organization. You might get a receptionist who takes down details and passes along the message to an editor or a reporter, or you might get a reporter. If that happens, ask he or she if he or she is on deadline before launching into your talk. If the answer is yes, please have the courtesy to get a number and arrange to call back at a specific time. Assuming they have time now, please be as brief and succinct as you can. Make sure to explain why you believe the story is worth covering. Provide as much lead time as you can, and ensure that you provide all the relevant details. Time, place, nearest public transit stop, and contact numbers. Finally, ask the person to whom you're speaking if they would like an email version of what you've just said. Rule number 4, and now we get to the substance of your message. Try to focus on the lives you're changing or the difference you're making, not who you are, how your organization functions, how long it gets its funding, how long it's been around, how it gets its funding. If a journalist wants to know any of those details, he or she will ask. Some of the most interesting and well-read columns I've written are about individuals or groups taking on a challenge that looked impossible and finding an answer, or at least the seeds of an answer. Or about people combining their talents, resources, and commitment to do things that governments and the private sector can't or won't do. Please remember that reporters ask probing questions, delve into areas you might not want to talk about, and do not follow anybody's script. I understand that because there has been so little coverage of your sector, and because most of the people in it are motivated by the best instincts, there tends to be an expectation of kid glove treatment. Journalists are not trained to provide that. As the eyes and ears of the public, they ask what people want to know. They raise sensitive issues. They do ruffle feathers. I certainly have.